Welcome to episode 2, Streets and Scholars with Alex, Alonso, and FG. But let's move on to this other case, man, because this is really interesting, man. These two brothers from right here in LA, from not too far from where we're at right now, Malik Lamont Powell, 21 years old, and Khai McGhee, 18, were sentenced to 140 months in federal prison for this brazen daytime robbery they did in Beverly Hills. Where I don't know if you saw the video of it, but there's like some grainy video of them running.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Apparently, they put a gun to the head of a dude, took his $500,000 watch. They got into a little scuffle. Somebody bust. A woman got hit, and they got away. But eventually, they got caught, and they were just sentenced to 144 months. What do you think is going on through the minds of these two guys? These guys were much younger than you were,
no doubt,
when you got popped. You were already like 30, right?
Yeah, I was 31.
You was 31. 21-year-old and an 18-year-old, they're on their way to do almost a little bit more time than you were sentenced to.
No doubt. Well, the thing about it, they probably was first worried about the lady getting shot. Once they found out that was a factor, then that takes the robbery to a different level. Now, the thing about it, by them only getting 12 years, it could be said that, or they could have argued that during the scuffle for the gun, because they also left the gun at the scene in the scuffle. During the scuffle of the gun could have went off, and that's when they shot the lady, and that's not intentional. You know what I mean? And they probably told the guy, that was losing his watch, that probably was a dumb move. You could have lost your life. You know what I mean? The watch is much more than your life. But that probably was their first instinct. Once they probably figured out that, okay, the gun allegation or the shooting, the woman allegations wasn't going to stick. Now we dealing with a robbery. You're dealing with a robbery which still only carry 3, 5, 6, 7 years on the robbery by itself. The gun is going to be an automatic 60 months in the feds. So that's how they do it. A lot of people don't know if you walk in the bank with a note, 3 to 5 years.
Without a gun?
Without a gun, no doubt. 3 to 5 years. It's the gun that's going to give you the 60 months. And depending if you don't really have a record, you're going to get the 60 months for the gun. You're going to get the 3, 4 years for the actual robbery. And then you're going to come with 8, 9, 10 years, to the feds. And so that's why. But my thing is this. How did it go federal?
That is a great question. I don't know why it went federal.
This is a robbery in Beverly Hills at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, how did they get to the feds?
That is a great question. We'll have to come back to that. But back to what you were saying about all the years that they're getting, because I was just looking at all of the things that these two got. Well, there's a third defendant in this case too that just pled guilty but hasn't been sentenced. But I'm looking at all the things that these guys did to get 12 years, and then I'm thinking about your case where you got sentenced to 10 for just 4.5
right.
Not even 4.5 ounces. I think it weighed out to
98.8 grams.
98 grams. These guys did so much more than what you did, but they're only getting 2 more years. Does the numbers make sense to you?
The numbers make sense to me because I was in the feds with a lot of bank robbers and guys that rob stuff, So that's how I was able to talk to them. I didn't have gun allegations on mine, but I do know the gun in most cases that's gonna be a separate 60 months. Now you're dealing with your case. That's how the feds do it. The state, they're going to rack up charges on all kind of stuff and give you all kind of enhancement. The feds are going to go by their guidelines. 60 months for the gun. What do we have now? Now you're still dealing with criminal history because it's a chart. And the chart is you got the offense level going down, you have criminal history going across. So when you come down and connect those dots to what your criminal history is, these guys might have didn't have an extensive criminal history, because that usually would push you up. They probably didn't have any priors. That usually push you up. So therefore, they probably met in the middle. 12 was a good deal. I think 12 was a good deal for them.
Yeah, for being 18 years old and 21, they probably had very limited criminal history.
Limited criminal history. But on the flip side, though, by them being young, they might wind up at a USP or a FCI, and that's where all the rocking and rolling is going.
So let's talk about the difference between a USP and an FCI. One is higher than the other, right?
Yeah, the USP, the United States Penitentiary, is on a higher level than the FCI. And you got a lot of lifers over there. I mean, you have lifers at both of them, but you got to have a lot of lifers, and they work on a point system. So say if you have a super criminal history, and they changed the point system right before I came home to make it to where the younger you are, the higher the level you go. So, them guys land on a USP. I mean, definitely they going to have to be on their P's and Q's, and they going to have nothing faulty about their background as far as their street credibility, And the Crips going to see to that as soon as they get there, Who they know, as soon as they already know about them. So as soon as they get there, they going to, check their background, make sure their paperwork straight, because you can't live there if your paperwork not straight.
Yeah. Now, what's the chances that these two guys, Malik Powell and Khai McGhee, will get sent to a federal camp?
I slim and none.
Why is that?
For one, they too young. They got a gang. They have a gun crime. They have a felony that requires the violence. So the violence is gonna kick them up. The age is gonna kick them up. There's so many factors gonna kick them up. I'm guarantee you they start no less than an FCI.
Okay, and that's one level below USP.
Yeah, and they could land there, and it's rocking and rolling there too. So you're gonna get the same. You're gonna get treated the same. You're gonna have to be on your gangster shit, because from what I hear, they're gang members. So once you touch there, you gonna get hit up as soon as you come out the door. And you're gonna have to be on your shit to walk them yards.
Yeah, according to the report here, they are Harlem 30s Crip, allegedly. And for that, as soon as they let's say they go to is this like the state where you go to a federal prison for reception and then get sent to where you're going?
No, they gonna go straight to the yard from either MDC. They ain't from Los Angeles, so they gonna go from MDC or San Bernardino. They got a holdover in San Bernardino. Sometime after you get sentenced, they'll send you out there until you get ready to get shipped to the yard. But I mean, this the feds. They can get shipped across the country. They can go to Lewisburg, they can go to Leavenworth, they can go to, there's so many places that they can land, and and that's a whole different dynamic. You know what I mean? You land up in Marion, you land up in some of these spots where California ain't as thick as the other boys. It's a whole lot of dynamics you're going to have to roll with. You know what I mean? So, they in for a ride. They in for a ride. But they sound like they some young. If they jumping out doing robberies like that, they gonna make it. They some young tough little cats.
They ready for this, huh?
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
if these two guys could have called you up before they were getting shipped to the feds, right after they pled guilty, what advice would you give these two guys? One being 18, the other being 21.
You know what? I wouldn't, because the only advice would be like, man, your background straight. Long as your background straight, they be all right. You know what I mean? Because like I say, when they get there, if they Crips, the Crips gonna embrace them and make sure they straight. You know what I mean? Make sure they got anything they need when they pull up. You know what I mean? And so it's not much advice I can do. Just just keep your nose clean. Ain't no stealing, no shit. Ain't no. You're gonna be held accountable. When you in there's nowhere to go. Like out here, how dudes can come to the neighborhood, shoot up the town, then go back to San Bernardino or something, and they didn't cause all this chaos out here. You can't do that in there. You're going to have to be held accountable for what you come out your mouth, what you say, and what you do.
Now, I was reading the comment about the question you asked earlier about why is it a Fed case. Someone said they don't know why it's a Fed case, but this one person said, I'd rather do 12 years in the Feds than 12 years in the state. How'd you feel about that? Thanks for watching this video clip of Streets and Scholars podcast with Alex Alonso and FG. If you want to listen to the entire episode, go to your favorite podcast platform and type in Streets and Scholars. But we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. And thanks for listening to another episode of Streets and Scholars.